It is Friday, everyone, and it is noon Central Time at least. So that means it is time for the Friday 15. Welcome, 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 whether it's your first time or you've been a visitor many times. I am Steph Lee, the founder of Host Agents Reviews, and we're so excited to have the Friday 15 with us today. And we have our co-host, who I think this is your first time on, Kendra, isn't it?
The Friday 15, yes. We did a webinar, but the Friday 15, yes. Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, we have Kendra on from Travel Edge. It's very exciting. First time Friday 15 guest. And boy, did you all turn out with your questions because they are doozies this week. Very specific. Let's see. Things before we jump into things. One, if you have questions, we'd love them. We love to answer them. You can go to hostagencyreviews.com/Friday15, or you can look at the show notes if you're listening to the audio version. And speaking of, if you are listening to the audio version, you might notice that usually our description with all the links looks like a terrible mess. And that's because of the podcast host we were using. They refused to put in the technology that would have been really simple to make it so that it was easy to read and we could have hyperlinks. But now we switched podcast hosts. And so it actually looks nice in our description and you can click the links and it's just so magical. So check that out if you're listening to the podcast version. And then just a quick reminder, if you aren't following our webinars and our events calendar, it's a great place to know what's going on in the travel industry. We will link to our events calendar. It's got over 100, probably 125 different travel events for the next year. Great way to find out what's happening and what's coming up. We have 2 webinars we'll be hosting here at Host Agency Reviews. One on Wednesday, August 21st, so in about 2 weeks, about securing your legacy and succession planning for travel advisors. Even if you aren't thinking of selling, it's really good to start about succession. So good to know so you can set yourself up for success. We'll put the link in to register for that in the show notes. And then the other one we have is September 1st, another Wednesday, and that is holiday travel, do's and don'ts as a selling travel advisor. So let's get into our questions for today, Kendra. We have, this is from Kay. Can you provide any insights about Clientbase? My agency uses it as the CRM and the record for commission, and I hate it. In my opinion, it is antiquated and clunky, and it's the worst part of my job. Dramatic, I know. I'm loving this one. But the web-based version I have wastes my time, and it's very unhelpful to me. It's all getting paid by the host agency. Do all host agencies work off this client-based system? I like my agency, but I would consider a change if there were agencies out there that connect directly to vendors. So I'm not doing so much data entry, or even if they don't connect directly to vendors, maybe their CRM system is more useful. Thank you, and thank you for all you do. So before we jump over to you, Kendra, and your thoughts on this, which is awesome. For those that don't know, Clientbase is a CRM system, and CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management tool, and it's where you put all the information about your clients. It's essential for any travel agency. So Kendra.
Perfect. Thank you.
Give us your thoughts about these beautiful letters she sent us.
It's a great question. And I know that Clientbase is one of the more popular CRMs in the industry, along with its sister program, ClientLink, which is quite similar to Clientbase. Personally, I worked on Clientbase and then switched over to ClientLink for about 10 years. So I used to do, the entries into it, accounting in it. I used to do all of our agency marketing from it. It can be clunky, as Kay said, and it can be very repetitive. So one of the things when I came to Travel Edge 2.5 years ago that I was very excited about is Travel Edge has developed its own software called ADX, which stands for the Agent Digital Experience. So our parent group at Travel Edge is Navigator, which they own a software company. We can always do a little flow chart, but Navigator owns a software company called TripArc, which makes us stand out, I think, as a host agency. One of our biggest advantages is the technology that we apply, that we provide to our IC advisors. And we really go into how advantageous that is for ICs. So ADX works as a CRM. It works as a booking tool, an invoicing, and a marketing tool all into one. It's a fantastic program. So currently, our advisors can sell air, hotel, activities, and insurance directly through ADX. It books it, and then it invoices it all into one. And we're just finishing up actually on our cruise pilot project, which will be released to our advisor network soon. And then you will be able to search, book, and invoice cruises all in one spot. So it's fantastic. It's, you know, you're not learning all these different systems because it's all right there for you. So while there's still some suppliers that you will need to make a reservation for outside of ADX and do as an external invoice, our list of partners in ADX keeps growing. And currently we have content from Sabre, Amadeus, our consortia ensemble, and our Travel Edge products, which are integrated into it. So some of the other advantages of it, it shows commissions up front for air, hotel, and activities that are being booked. Our hotel program shows our preferred agreements with all the major luxury brands, including individual contracts and over 6,500 luxury properties, which is quite amazing. ADX produces professional looking client documents such as itineraries and client statements. They are automatically generated. So, you know, you issue an air ticket, you go to the itinerary, and it automatically generates this itinerary and client statements. It's absolutely fantastic. Air bookings made through ADX come with a no debit memo guarantee, which is huge.
Oh.
So because our air support team does all the ticketing and managing of those PNRs in the background, it's a point-and-click system, ADX for air. Because they manage all that, they know what they're doing. They're air experts. I am not. So they take all the responsibility for those debit memos.
I'm really sad we don't have an audio person live on here because I would have made it go like this squeaking sound when you said no debit memo. That's a pretty big deal.
That's right. Our air support team actions all schedule changes and airline messages in the background. So, I mean, an advisor really doesn't even need to know what a PNR is, right? Because it's all graphical. There's none of this archaic code in ADX whatsoever. So if the air, hotel, and activity reservations are made in ADX, our advisors can offer their clients a 24/7 support desk to assist them and the clients during their travel dates. So either the agent during the travel, the agent or the clients can call as many times as needed for one low fee. And the advantage to the advisors there is that they're not on call 24 hours a day. So they can actually have evenings and weekends free, and the client has 24-hour assistance.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And the other thing about our CRM and ADX is the commissions are tracked automatically and synced to real-time finance reports for the advisor. So it's a wonderful program. It's it leaps and bounds beyond what Clientbase and ClientLink are. For sure.
Yeah. Hey, so what you're experiencing is something that we hear from a lot of people about Clientbase. You know, they're the legacy CRM that's out there. They were the first one that's out there. They're the only one. Well, there was ClientEase too, but they were had the whole market share for a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening now is technology is enabling so much more. So you'll have hosts like Travel Edge that have their own in-house CRM. Yeah. You'll have hosts that will use other CRMs. So let me show a couple things. So one, I'm going to share my screen. Present. You got this, Stephanie. Oh, no, I bring this to the stage. Okay, I got it. All right. So first thing is on Travel Edges. So when Kendra's talking about ADX and kind of everything all being in one platform. Yeah. So, traditionally travel agencies have had to log in to every single vendor to check prices and make bookings. ADX is different for that reason. And this is, as I'm talking about this, because it's a pretty big deal, but it's happening more and more that you have more of this single sign-on where you can book everything. So if you can see on Travel Edge's profile, if we scroll down, for those that are watching on YouTube, those listening audio, just envision with me, go to the profile, you're going to scroll down, and under leisure tools, you'll see that there's the single sign-on booking tool.
Yeah.
And that's a way to tell if an agency has that. But the other thing I want to show is we have just launched something new. Well, we just launched the new site on Monday. It looks very similar, but it's run on a completely different back end. So on the sites, the profiles now, so previously we'd had under technology and tools, you could see if you wanted to know if the host agency provides a CRM, and then it would say the word CRM here, and then it would have either like an X box or a green check mark. Now what we're doing is it'll have website programs, commission tracking, form builder, CRM, different technology. And instead of just telling you if they have it, it will tell you who they have. So you can see here on CRM, they have Clientbase as their CM. And then what we're envisioning, and then in the next couple of weeks, so end of August, what we'll be launching on this site is that you will be able to click on the word Clientbase and it will take you to a travel agency software profile about Clientbase that will look similar to the host agency profiles, but will have reviews. It will tell you different information on the technology, the cost, who it's good for. It'll have demos that you can run through. So that way people like Kay that are looking for information on these technology platforms, they can find all the information and also have a better understanding of which hosts offer which technologies. And if in the case of ADX, where it's proprietary, you'll also be able to, there'll be an ADX profile and you'll be able to learn about ADX on there. So whether it's something that's available only to host agency members, or if it's available to any agency out there, you'll be able to get more information on the technology. So super excited about that.
Perfect. That's great stuff.
Yeah. It's been a year in the working, Kendra. So this is very exciting that it is.
It is exciting. It is.
Literally never thought this day would come. So let's see. One other thing we mentioned debit memos, and I know not all of you know what those are. So we are going to link to an article on debit memos if you're curious about them and want to get scared out of your mind.
Perfect. No, nobody ever wants to receive one.
Oh, that's something fun.
It's not a present from the airline.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of getting a letter in the mail from the IRS or the Department of Revenue, and you're like, oh, I don't want to open this.
Exactly.
All right, next question is from Anonymous. Do you have any resources for adults with autism who want to travel? The biggest issue I have is low stamina when things are too overwhelming. My concern is, what if I run into a place that feels too busy, I stay for too long for some reason, and then the subway or some other form of public transit in between me and my hotel. It's hard to find travel tips and resources for adults with disabilities sometimes. So what are your thoughts on this? Because this sounds like it's not an advisor, but actually a traveler that was listening in that's kind of looking for information.
I think we have advisors at Travel Edge that do specialize in assistive travel, and I think that it is important to find somebody who specializes in that segment of travel.
Agree.
We do have a few, and we actually have one team out in Vancouver that they have two advisors. One of the advisors actually has a child with autism, so she has developed a whole guide for travelers, and I really think that it's important to find a specialist that can guide you. There's so many. There's actually even tour operators that specialize in assistive travel. I know that when I used to do groups, and if we had somebody with even a mobility issue, and that there's a company down in Florida that you can actually, do wheelchairs, do walkers. You can, they offer different oxygen machines and all that kind of stuff down there that you can rent from them. So it's just finding an advisor that actually specializes in that segment of travel and being able to tap into those resources that they have.
Yeah. So this is putting you on the spot, but do you remember the name of the travel advisor? Because we can put that in there as a resource then.
Yeah, she's Yates Travel Design. So Alex Yates. Mhm.
Cool. We're gonna link to that. Yates Travel Design.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I will say it is difficult to find, like, if you're Googling it, there's no directory of, well, I shouldn't say that there's no easy to find directory of travel advisors that specialize in autism. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
There's also resorts down in the Caribbean. Like if they're thinking of doing a a southern tour and that there's certain resorts like Sandals is autism certified. The Palladium resorts, they are autism certified. So again, it's tapping into those resources and finding an advisor that specializes and knows where to go to find that information. Mhm. Yeah.
exactly. And again, it sounds like this might be a traveler instead of a travel advisor, but for travel advisors that are out there, or for this particular listener that wants to learn more, I'm going to link to an article we had that wrote writing about travel is for everyone. It's an advisor that specializes in autistic travel. Her son has autism. And what we'll do is we'll link to that because she has some great ideas on things she does as a travel advisor. And from the perspective of a mom who's trying to bring her son on vacations places, things that
Mhm.
she does that really helps out, can help other parents. And then the other thing I'll link to is there's a couple certifications for travel advisors. One is Autism Double Checked.
Yeah.
URL is Autism Checked, and the logo is Autism Double Checked. So it's either checked or double checked. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I did have a call with the person last month. Learned a lot about it. It's an hour-long certification program for travel advisors. I think it's like $20 or $30 to take.
Mhm.
So it's something pretty quick. Then there is another place that does certification for advisors of and continuing ed or something, and we'll link to them as well. And those are great resources for travel advisors or travelers looking to connect with someone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And last question, again from Anonymous coming in, and they are asking, I volunteer for a nonprofit that sends missionaries overseas, and they want me to book airline tickets. Are there special fares for missionaries? Will joining a host agency mean I can book airline tickets?
So the airlines have really, over the years, they have cut a lot of stuff, including commissions, where we start bringing in professional fees for our services because we have to remember we're all professionals, right? And we deserve to be paid for our experience and our knowledge. So the airlines are not always so forthcoming with special discounts on there. So I did do a little bit of research. I didn't find any special fares for missionaries. But of course, if you join a host agency, you definitely will have access to be able to sell air tickets. There may be the odd host agency out there that doesn't want to deal with air. My thought on it is you want to be a complete package. You don't want somebody coming to you and booking a $30,000 land product and then say, oh, sorry, you can take after your air. You can look after your air. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not very luxury, right? So I think with us in Travel Edge, as we mentioned, the ADX system is linked to the airlines to give you all of those options. ADX sits on top of the GDS, which is the airline reservation system of Sabre and Amadeus. So we get all of those options that your GDS is going to provide. And our ADX is a point and collect system where all our airline contracts are loaded. So there's none of those archaic codes or entries to learn. Our advisors don't have to interpret and examine hard to read, wordy airline contracts because all of that is built into ADX and our technology does it for you. So our advisors can look at fares, hold space, ticket, and invoice all together in the same system very easily. So never be afraid of air. I know that some advisors are, but there are systems out there to make it easier for you.
Yeah. And let me again show Travel Edge's profile. because this is something that's really helpful for advisors. So on host agency profiles, under the program details, you'll see there'll be a area that says ticket and service for non-GDS agents. And then it'll either, again, have that green or red for yes or no. And then it'll say if there's a charge for ticketing at all. So you can check that out on potential host agency profiles or your host agency profile to get a little bit more information. But the one thing I would say about, missionary fairs, if anyone listening has any information on that, let me know, because I know that there used to be some consolidators that did missionary fairs, but I also know it's kind of I don't want to say risky business, but it's, there's business models that have higher risk. So I'm not sure if they're still around anymore. So if anyone can fill that in, let me know. But the thing I will say is that booking airline tickets with your host agency, check in with them, because especially if you're doing these missionary trips, I'm assuming a lot of the missionary trips all want to travel together on the same plane and land at the same time, which means you're going to have to maybe do some group air contracts.
Yeah.
So check in with your host agency or prospective host agencies and ask them how they handle group contracts for air and how they can assist you during that process. Because we mentioned debit memos earlier, and the one thing you do not want is a debit memo for a big group booking. So making sure that whatever host agency you're talking with, that you bring up group bookings, ask them about debit memos, how you can make sure that you avoid debit memos, how they can help you with that. And I think you'll be good to go there. I'm also going to link to our article on what a GDS is, because we're throwing that around like candy. And you probably don't know what it is if you're new. So it's a global distribution system. We've got a visual for it in there so you can see what it looks like. We talk more about it and why not every advisor gets access into the GDS system.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kendra, we are wrapping things up today. If people want to reach out to you and learn more about Travel Edge or just have questions for you, what's the best way for them to do so?
So they can reach out to us. They can always look at our website, right? All of our details are there in the contact us. So it's just www.traveledge.com. My personal email, if you have any questions, is kendra.tainch. It's TAINSH @traveledge.com. But we've got all of our information there on our website. It'd be the perfect place to go and look.
Perfect. We will link to that. We'll link to your profile, and we will put your email address and our newly beautified description for the podcast.
Awesome.
So, for frequent fans, coming up, we have August 16th. Next week is going to be Jen Lee with Vacation Pictures, which is the new of travel. We have Uniglobe Travel Center. April Swales will be joining us, and August 30th, Chad Burt with Outside Agents will be our host. So again, if you have questions for us, you can submit them to agentsreviews.com/Friday15 or following the link in the description. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Steph. I appreciate it.
It's a blast. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. We will see you next Friday, 12 p.m. Central Time. Don't forget to sign up for e-reminders, and you can do that by following the link in the comments. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.